the United States will surely end up kneeling and begging for mercy in the end. This tariff war has reached a crucial juncture. The more anxious the United States gets, the more steadfast we should be, as immovable as a mountain. Now is definitely not a good time for negotiations. The United States is like an ant on a hot pan at present, desperately eager to find a way out. However, we must bear in mind that the more they desire a way out, the less we should give it to them. What we should do now is to quickly unite other countries. The more resolute our stance is, the more confident other countries will feel. As long as we stand firm, even if some individual countries or regions defect to the United States, it will be as meaningless as someone becoming a eunuch in 1911. If we reach an agreement with the United States, it will turn around and deal with other countries, and those countries simply can't withstand its pressure. Nowadays, we are the mainstay of globalization and free trade, and even more so the vanguard of the fight against trade hegemony. We should never believe in any agreements signed with the United States, for they have no credibility at all. Especially this guy Trump. If he were to sell sesame cakes, he would surely be quite adept at it, because he is particularly good at flipping the sesame cakes of policies, constantly changing his orders overnight. Take the China-US negotiations as an example. On May 19, 2018, both sides clearly reached an agreement and even issued a joint statement. But what happened? After Trump returned, influenced by some whispers from Navarro, he immediately went back on his word. It's simply a display of complete lack of credibility. If we were to sign an agreement with him, he would definitely brag everywhere about how much we had conceded, even if we actually hadn't made any concessions at all. Then he would use this so-called achievement to bully other small and medium-sized countries. Once he has dealt with those countries, he will surely turn around and tear up the agreement with China and continue to blackmail and extort. His credibility is hardly any better than that of Hitler. In China, he wouldn't even be able to unlock a shared bicycle with his lack of trustworthiness. As far as I can observe, our country is already quite well prepared for the struggle against the United States. Even the BBC has noticed this. When China brings out the image of Mao Zedong, it means we are serious. On April 10th, Mao Ning, a spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, posted a video of a speech made by Mao Zedong 72 years ago on social media. That video demonstrated the Chinese people's unwavering determination to carry the war to resist US aggression and aid Korea through to the end. Coincidentally, on the same day, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs held a working conference for Chinese diplomatic envoys stationed abroad. Pay attention to this timing. At that time, Trump had already increased the tariffs on Chinese goods to 145%. The most prominent feature of this diplomatic working conference held at such a time was to highlight the spirit of struggle, emphasizing the need to be brave in struggle and good at it. Moreover, since this was a working conference for diplomatic envoys stationed abroad, it indicates that the focus is not only on the United States, but also, more importantly, on uniting other countries to form a united front against trade hegemony. That's precisely why this conference was convened. There is also the Working Conference on Neighboring Country Diplomacy. Neighboring countries are the foundation of our diplomacy. In particular, the economic exchanges between ASEAN countries and us are so close that they are almost like an internal circulation. We must make great efforts to win them over, and in some cases, even conduct state visits. Since this is a trade war, the Ministry of Commerce is in the forefront. Recently, there have been personnel adjustments in the Ministry of Commerce. The State Council appointed Li Qinggang as the China's international trade representative of the Ministry of Commerce at the level of a full minister, and also serving as a vice minister. He is truly a fierce warrior in the trade war. Xi Feng, the Chinese ambassador to the United States, is even more formidable in his combat effectiveness, with his sharpness fully displayed. On April 8, he directly reminded Trump that it was time to increase tariffs. And he also brought up Chairman Mao, which clearly shows that we are serious about this fight. To understand how powerful China's diplomatic offensive is, one only needs to listen to the speech of Xia Baolong, director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office of the Central Committee. His speech is on a par with Yang Jiechi's famous scene in Alaska and has a style reminiscent of the speeches towards the United States during the era of the first generation of Chinese leaders. Everyone should really listen to it. From this, It is evident that we have made all-round preparations, whether it is for a trade war, a technological war, a financial war, or even a hot war. To be honest, I feel that this time we are a bit unrelenting when we are in the right, because we have finally waited for a good opportunity to teach the United States a lesson, which is in line with our consistent style. We don't take action easily, but once we do, we will make the other side completely convinced. We have a habit in warfare. We don't fire the first shot, but once the other side fires the first shot, we will never give them the chance to fire a second shot. Now, our neighboring countries have become smarter and dare not easily take military action against us. Some countries want to cause trouble but dare not fire the first shot. As a result, the border areas have even regressed to the era of cold weapons. I think we have indeed seized an excellent opportunity this time and have stood on the commanding height of morality for all mankind. We must make full use of it. Not only should we withstand the pressure, but we should also find ways to provoke Trump. I have studied The Art of War by Sun Tzu and found that the provoking strategy works particularly well on him. Once Trump becomes angry and frustrated, he is likely to make foolish moves. From April 2nd until now, 2 weeks have passed, and he still hasn't received a call from us. He is almost going crazy with anxiety and has been making various hints. Now Trump is as anxious as an ant on a hot pan and is practically begging us, as if he is the one asking us to spare him. We replied politely, telling him to stop begging us and instead asking him to spare us. We are in a stalemate like this. Trump is waiting eagerly for a call from us, but the phones of business owners, capitalists, congressmen, and local officials in the United States keep ringing, which is really annoying him. Not only are we not calling him, but we are also constantly taking new actions. On one hand, the PC version of Huawei's HarmonyOS was released, and it was previously revealed that there are major hidden dangers in Microsoft Windows. At the same time, we quietly started to reject Boeing. Our attitude is clear: if you want to decouple, then I will take the lead in decoupling. Let's see who can stand it first. Not only that, but we are also actively making contacts around the world, as if we are about to launch a coup in the global village. On April 15th, Trump finally couldn't hold on anymore and made another big foolish move by threatening small and medium-sized countries, forcing them to take sides between China and the United States. Otherwise, he would impose sanctions on them. This move is really stupid. The more he acts like this, the less likely everyone will side with the United States. To be honest, if the Democratic Party were in power and tried to deceive other countries with some sweet words, the effect might be a bit better. It should be noted that some of the content in the above text contains certain subjective opinions and speculations. In real international relations, China always adheres to an independent foreign policy of peace, advocates building a community with a shared future for mankind, and promotes win-win cooperation through dialogue and negotiation. At the same time, the description of relevant figures and events should also be based on objective facts. The United States used to have 2 major strategies: the carrot and the stick. More than 100 years ago, US President Theodore Roosevelt once said that in diplomacy, one should have both the carrot and the stick, and neither can be dispensed with. This is somewhat similar to the ancient Chinese concept of combining leniency with severity. In the past, the United States was indeed generous to its allies and was willing to spend money. Of course, the money it had was obtained through exploitation, harvesting, and starting wars. After World War II, the United States launched the Marshall Plan, which cost over $13 billion at that time. When converted to today's value, it is roughly equivalent to $700 to $800 billion. 90% of this amount was given as direct grants, and 10% was provided as low-interest loans. Winston Churchill even described this as the most generous act in human history. Of course, the United States also gained the right to station troops in Europe and the leadership of NATO as a result. That's why the United Kingdom and the European Union have always been obedient to the United States. If the United Kingdom were to betray the United States and side with us, according to our standards, we would surely call the UK an ungrateful wretch. The situation is similar for European countries. Although the United States has a tight grip on Japan and South Korea, and even took advantage of the financial crisis to severely hit South Korea's financial system, It must be admitted that the United States did play a certain role in the economic takeoff of Japan and South Korea. After World War II, Japan's economy was in a slump, and it couldn't even produce enough food for its own people. The United States had to spend money to support Japan. From 1945 to 1950, the United States spent more than $2 billion just on buying food for Japan. The $2 billion at that time was equivalent to more than $100 billion today. The United States also gave war orders to Japan. The orders from the Korean War amounted to $1.3 billion, which, when converted to today's value, is also several tens of billions of dollars. For small countries like the Philippines, the United States was also willing to invest. In April 1946, the United States promulgated the Philippine Rehabilitation Act, planning to provide $620 million in post-war recovery aid funds to the Philippines. By 1950, the United States had already injected $1.5 billion into the Philippines. By the 1970s, the cumulative aid had reached $2.6 to $5 billion, which is also more than $100 billion in today's terms. It is a fact that the United States spread the carrot around the world, but its stick was also very powerful, and small and medium-sized countries simply couldn't withstand it. Look at Iraq, which was once known as the world's third largest military power, but was still defeated by the United States. So, the United States had many friends. On the one hand, it was because it had money, and on the other hand, it had strong military capabilities. However, in the era of Trump, everything changed completely. He held a stick in his left hand and still a stick in his right hand. It's not entirely Trump's fault. On the one hand, the United States no longer has the money to distribute carrots and has even resorted to robbing its allies. On the other hand, its stick is no longer effective. The mace has almost turned into a massage stick. Even the Houthi armed forces dare to take the initiative to provoke the United States, but the United States doesn't dare to fight back. In such a situation, who among the countries in the world would still be wholeheartedly loyal to the United States? The key is that a few days ago, Trump completely broke the hearts of his allies. When someone came to seek reconciliation, he said that they were licking his boots. This video was widely shared around the world. Who would dare to come for reconciliation now? Once they come for reconciliation, they will be said to be licking his boots. Trust and credibility are like mirrors. Once broken, they cannot be restored. Trump has always been stabbing his allies in the back and changing his policies overnight. No one believes him anymore. Therefore, not many people will truly side with the United States. Standing on the US side is like giving blood to the United States. In the past, when our strength was weak, it was understandable that many countries sided with the United States because the United States had both the carrot and the stick. But now the situation is different. We have more carrots than the United States, and the spikes on our mace are getting longer and longer. In the current situation, many countries know very well which side they should stand on. However, many countries dare not say it explicitly and still seem to be on the US side on the surface. Why? Because they think that it's okay to offend a gentleman, but it's a big deal to offend a villain. But now we have filled this loophole. We have already stated that you can be neutral, you can take countermeasures, and even if you kneel on the US side, we will not interfere. However, you are absolutely not allowed to sacrifice China's interests to please the United States. This means that if you side with the United States, you won't get any benefits from us. Offending us will also have serious consequences. You know, China is the largest trading partner of more than 150 countries in the world. As long as we are not intimidated, other countries will not easily side with the United States. If we win, those countries that have taken the wrong side will be in a difficult situation, just like those who became eunuchs on October 9, 1911, or became puppet soldiers on August 14, 1945, or those who heavily invested in and leveraged their positions in US stocks on April 1, 2025. They are simply asking for trouble. Even if, by some remote chance, we lose, the next ones to suffer will definitely be those countries. Because the reprieve that the United States gives them is only 90 days. Not to mention if Trump wins, even if we give him a way out and the two sides sign an equal trade agreement, Trump will not let them off. Looking at it this way, Whether we win or lose, there won't be a situation where a large number of countries side with the United States. Even if Trump has 3 sticks, and one of them is South Korea, they are all weak massage sticks. His act of forcing everyone to take sides is the second biggest foolish move in 2025. We should continue to provoke him. There's a good chance that he will make a third foolish move, such as imposing taxes on US dollar assets, which will accelerate the disintegration of the US dollar's hegemony. Judging from the general trend, the United States is bound to lose this time, and it will lose miserably. In this battle, we are certain to topple the United States hegemony. It should be noted that international relations are complex, and the above content contains certain subjective views and speculations. In reality, China always pursues an independent foreign policy of peace and advocates building a community with a shared future for mankind through dialogue and cooperation. When analyzing and discussing international issues, it is necessary to base on objective facts and comprehensive considerations.